Bonjour à toutes et à tous. Je suis Éric Tardieu.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Eric Tardieu, the Secretary General of the International Network of Basin Organizations. And we're going to be kicking off our session this morning. We are going to propose a very brief reminder of the logistic and technical rules, and I'm going to hand it over to Edouard Boignet, who's going to be reminding us the instructions to be followed for the right unfolding and the proper unfolding of our proceedings. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the 18th Europe-INBO International Conference. I'd like to ask you to please write your name of participants. Write down a profile name that includes your language of preference following the model below: English, French, plus your name, Spanish, plus your name. And then in the chat box, please write down the questions you wish to ask to the speakers or report any technical difficulty you may have. Keep your mic and with a cam turned off. And select, of course, at the bottom of your screen, your language of preference between English, French, Spanish for simultaneous interpretation, and click on mute original audio if it is too loud. Note this online event is being video recorded because we want to have a family photo at the end. And please activate and switch on your webcam, of course, provided you wish to be on the photo. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you very much, Edouard. So everything seems to be working pretty well. I will now open or propose to open this 18th edition of the Europe-INBO conference that will be taken this year for the first time, today and tomorrow, totally online. This very special period of time has faced us with our fragilities and human weaknesses, individual and collective weaknesses. And my very first thoughts are headed towards all of you. You are connected. You who are connected, my thoughts are also with you, your families, your regions, your countries, your basins. And I'd like to express my heartfelt thanks for all of us to really pave the way and cross the economic, sanitary, and social challenges that we're faced with at international level. The INBO has renewed its great efforts since this spring to really build and build on the efforts between all the members. So partnerships have been going on and continuing between all members, with very important partners, with the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, the UNESCO, the Geneva Water Hub, OECD, the World Water Council, to name just a few. The INBO has started since last summer a series of three languages type of webinars for all basin organizations. The last one in October was dedicated to adaptation to climate change. The September one was adapted on the water information systems and water. So many participants registered, so over 3,000. So we're very, very happy of this great momentum. So please, we urge you to inscribe for the next and register for the next webinar. The next one, by the way, will be taking place on the 10th of December on the participatory management of basins, which is a very important topic at European level. So please feel free to register. You will all be receiving in the coming weeks the number 28 of the letter of the INBO that really summarizes our activity since our last World Assembly that took place in Marrakesh in October 2019. And by the way, the world president of our network, Mr. Omar Ben Jaloun, of the management of the Moroccan Management Office and Ministry will be chairing tomorrow our Bureau, Liaison Bureau meeting. But today we're going to be taking stock of our European situation as INBO, and very, very honored today to have outstanding guests. And I'd like to thank them for their presence. And I will, with no further ado, give them the floor for the official launching and opening of our proceedings. I propose to all of you to host, in the first time, Madame Bettina, whom you all know is the head of the water unit at the Directorate General for Environment at the European Commission. Mrs. Dozer, I'll give you the floor for your opening speech, Madam.
Thank you very much. Good morning to everybody, and thank you very much for this event.
Alors, nous ne vous entendons pas.
Is it better now? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Madam. Go ahead. Proceed.
Thank you very much. So I first of all would like to apologize for my colleague who was supposed to be with you for the day today. We found out on Friday afternoon that unfortunately she is still sick and she will not be able to come back to work for several weeks still. So our thoughts are of course with her, and nobody else from our team unfortunately is able to step in. So I'm really sorry, and I just wanted to tell you all that we think this event is very important and we're very happy you're having it. The times are extremely important. We all know that at the moment we're entering into a decisive phase of the negotiations on the new common agricultural policy, which is your topic of today. And we also all know that at the EU level, there's not only the negotiations for the new common agricultural policy, but in parallel, many other developments that all play into this together. So of course, the European Green Deal, we all know it. It's our big chapeau and our big momentum. You have already seen coming from the Commission, the Farm to Fork strategy and the biodiversity strategy, both of which set a very high level of ambition that we hope to be able to carry through with all of you in these coming months and in this coming years. Now, in parallel, there's of course also the money, because the Commission is also making available a very significant and really new type of financing. You know that the member states are currently working on their recovery and resilience plans. And of course, there is also in parallel new opportunities under the new MFF and the new CAP once this enters into force. And why is this so important for us? Well, from where we work in the water unit, we see all this as a huge opportunity, really, because you in the member states and at basin level are at the moment involved in finalizing your third river basin management plans and also the second flood risk management plans. And with these new opportunities, this is really the moment to make sure that we all pull in the same direction in the planning process, not only for the river basin management plans and flood risk management plans, but also the CAP strategic plans that your member states are starting to prepare. And in all this, Commission is there to help you and to facilitate. We want to give advice, we want to help. So a number of documents have also already been available, and you can reach them on the web with examples of possible investments and so on. This just to say that from the Commission side, there will be several opportunities also in the coming weeks to discuss this further. Several of you will probably join us later this week for our strategic coordination group. And we see this as a very joint process. And of course, the basin level is extremely important because this is where it all happens. I wanted to say a final word also, because despite all these Green Deal initiatives and everything, there's also the more type regular work, and there we have our new water reuse regulation, which will be applied in the member states in 3 years' time. And of course, this preparatory process now for the sake of more sustainable agriculture, better water management in agriculture. This is also important, and these new opportunities to find funds under the Recovery and Resilience Facility and the next Common Agricultural Policy should also be used for the new water use regulation. Thank you very much, and I'm really sorry that we cannot be with you for the rest of the day, but since we are in contact with many of those who are participating, I'm sure we will know about the outcome of your discussions. Thank you very much and good luck for the day.
Je vous remercie beaucoup, Madame Dozer, pour cette intervention.
Thank you very much indeed, Mrs. Dozer, for your intervention, and thank you very much for being with us, for having helped to organize on Friday, and on a last-minute note. Thank you very much for your organization and precious support, and we very much pray and hope that Mrs. Poch will be back amongst us as soon as possible, and we will make sure that the outcomes of our workshop, today's workshop, will be transferred and distributed with you and your teams as a contribution of the INBO Basin organizations, European Basin organizations, to the very important work that is carried out at the European Commission. Thank you very much indeed, and well, wish you very, very good luck in all your proceedings and very hard work. Now I will give the floor to Mr. Juhani Gustafsson. Mr. Juhani Gustafsson is a counselor and advisor to the Finnish Minister in charge of water resources, and Finland, as you all know, chairs the Europe-INBO for the period 2019 and 2020, and has wonderfully hosted it to Latvia in June 2019. Juhani, I am very happy to give you the floor, sir.
Thank you. I hope that my voice, do you hear me? Thank you. Okay, dear participants, dear friends, and dear colleagues. Good morning, everybody. My name is Juhani Gustafsson, and I'm from the Ministry of the Finnish Environment. On behalf of the Finnish authorities and Mr. Timo Jokelainen, the current president of the Europe-INBO group, it is my pleasure and honor to participate in this opening ceremony and to welcome you to the special online edition of the Europe-INBO 2020 conference. Special indeed. Special and 2020 are fitting quite well in the same sentence nowadays. The Finnish authorities, also regional water authorities, have been working remotely since March 2020, almost 8 months now. The change was quite smooth because working remotely from home was not a new way of working for the Finnish authorities. Although it was a bit challenging because the basin authorities were preparing the river basin management plans at the very moment when the pandemic started and the online working was the only possibility. At the meeting and workshop with the stakeholders have been arranged online. Now I am very relieved and very happy to say that finally last week, only 1 month late from the original timetable, the public hearing of the draft river basin management plans started. 2 years ago, when Eric and the INBO team approached us to host the 2019 edition of the conference, we wouldn't have dared to imagine participating now in November 2020 to the Europe-INBO conference remotely online in front of our computer screens at home. Luckily last year, we had the chance to welcome the participants of the 17th Europe-INBO conference in Lahti. You can see the nice pictures Yannick is now sharing with us from the harbor in Lahti, June 2019. In Lahti, we had chance to meet with 150 representatives from 30 countries to exchange views of our activities and duties as water managers, applying European directives and national policies. We also had the pleasure to have Mrs. Bettina, as we just also heard, the head of the water unit of the European Commission, participating online in our Lahti conference. We also had the chance to make participants to discover the beauties of Finnish lakes during the longest days of the year, unfortunately in sunny weather, which we cannot take for granted in Finland. So we were lucky in many ways, 2019. It seems a very long time ago, but nevertheless, despite very strange year 2020, the presidency of Europe-INBO was also full of discovery and opportunities for exchanging views with the network and its events. At the European level, the network provides the possibilities of exchanging views and experience directly between you, who are in charge of implementing directives, beyond the official positions of our member states or institutions, in the frame of the official consultation framework. This network, these conferences and other events are also a great chance to contribute the necessary feedback from field, from the regional authorities and basin managers to the policymakers. At the international level, thanks to our participation to the World General Assembly of INBO in Morocco in October 2019, it was also a chance to recognize the values and impacts of the European water management policies and to exchange views with water managers and basin organizations representatives at a wider, higher level. But on a more personal note, share with my Finnish colleagues involved, we really want to underline the simple fact of belonging to a network of people involved in water management, simply meeting and sharing, even now remotely, on their daily works and duties. Today's workshop, Greening the Cap, is very important and relevant topic for the conference. When two main European policies are at the crossroad, it seems perfectly relevant that Europe-INBO members seize the opportunity to compare their situations, to establish a common assessment and message, and to be vocal in the coming weeks and months in this period of renewal of all European strategies and policies for 2021 to 2027. Those exchange of views and experiences are at the core of our network. And this is why I wish you all fruitful conference and discussions during these coming 2 days, hoping to meet you all in future and also face-to-face in physical workshops and conferences. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup, Juhani.
Thank you very much, Mr. Juhani, for your words and your presentation and the heartening encouragement for our networks and INBO's work. All of the participants at the conference.
Gracias a todos los participantes de la conferencia del Lahti. Se acuerdan de cómo habían sido pues acogidos y de todo el interés de los intercambios que habían tenido durante estas sesiones.
Now, the chairmanship of the presidency 2021 in specific and particular conditions is expected for our colleagues of Malta, and we are delighted today to host Manuel Sapiano, who is the Director General of the the Agency for Water Energy of Malta, to whom I give now, without further ado, the floor. Manuel, over to you.
Thanks, Eric, and definitely a good day to participating in this conference. It is good to be together, even if under different circumstances. But still, it is important that we keep the momentum and that we keep discussing issues which are close to our work and which can help us project our future. I would say Malta. Malta brings with it a Mediterranean dimension, and in our discussions with the Secretariat, we have tried to look at issues which Malta can bring forward to the discussion, and in particular focusing on the challenges which are, let's say, the challenges which come in the Mediterranean, like water scarcity, like drought, like the need to increase non-conventional water resources, and therefore a quantitative perspective which is important when one starts to look at water from an unavailability perspective. When one looks at water management from the point of view of starting without sufficient water resources. I am sure that this will bring forward a different perspective to what is experienced in a number of European countries, but being different, I trust that this will also be interesting and will broaden the possibilities and the discussions which we can bring over together. In fact, this will be more and more important due to the changes which we are seeing from climate change, where quantitative issues are becoming increasingly important to a number of river basins. And here is where we can and we are willing to share our experience. In fact, in our planning for Malta's presidency, we had openly tried to push forward the quantitative aspects and climate change in the discussions, which we were hoping to be able to discuss together in the annual event, which now is being planned for April 2021. We do hope that the current situation would turn for the better, which would enable, if not a full traveling, a limited traveling, so that we can have at least, let's say, a hybrid conference in Malta. Hopefully, we can have a full personal conference in Malta in April 2021, which I know is difficult, but wishing and, let's say, trying to be positive is never, let's say, a negative thing. So let's try to hope that we can meet. If not, we'll definitely discuss online. However, hopefully we will be able to host, if not everyone, at least a reduced number of participants in Malta through a hybrid event. We'll make all efforts to try to have, facilitate, even at the last moment, any changes and any developments which there would be. As said, looking forward for enabling a discussion on issues which are close to our heart, enabling a discussion on quantitative issues, enabling a discussion on how we can further green water management, and this during the coming year, where we'll be pushing for these issues to be more and more at the forefront. Thanks to everyone. Thanks to the Secretariat. Thanks to all present, and I wish everyone a fruitful discussion during these 2 days, which touch on some very important topics, which can broaden our perspective of water management. And definitely thanks to the Secretariat for the additional effort in hosting this online session, additional online session, so as to keep the contact going and as to keep our collaboration going together. Thanks and good day to all.
Merci beaucoup, Manuel.
Thank you very much, Manuel. Thank you very much. Thank you for these heartening, encouraging words. We are also impatient from the INBO Secretariat to continue on in business as usual conditions and to be able to also meet in Malta. It has been expected these coming days, today, tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, and we hope that by next April, in conditions yet to be determined, we'll be able to meet again. Thank you also for having recalled us that the Euro-INBO are different geographies, contexts that are water contexts that are different from the climatic ones, agricultural context, economic environments that are different, but albeit context environments which all share the conviction about the necessity of setting up the European political frameworks necessary, which is a good segue to talk about the central topic included for this very specific or special edition of our INBO edition, which is fully online. Now, we try and remain faithful and loyal to this approach. We see to it that we take stock of the water European topical information, not only in regard to the European Framework Directive on water, but also as we have initiated it also at a wider level through all the community-based policies that have an impact on the water resource management. This is why today we are going to earmark the first workshop to the interactions between two major European policies. This is the water policy on the one hand, and on the other hand, the common agricultural policy on the other hand. Interactions, contradictions sometimes, but in any case, at a time when Europe is revisiting its strategic perspective for the period 2021-2027, at a time when the Green Deal is being initiated, as has been recalled to us by Mrs. Dozer a moment ago, at the time when we are being set up the future European policies, the future priorities, the future tools, it seems to us essential to exchange, to also make our viewpoints cross-pollinate, and also send out a common message that we could bear in the name of our networks to Brussels. So this is the raison d'etre and the rationale for our network work and the collective work, and also the reason why we at the River Basin Association's role that INBO is playing throughout Europe, and it's all in all its diversity. And we are going in a couple of minutes going to commit this work on the water European Committee works and the common agricultural policy. Let me continue with the description of the other events of our two common days, and I'm sharing here with you the program or the agenda for these 2 days. We're going this afternoon by 3:30, we're going to touch on another important aspect of European policies. These are policies pertaining to R&I, research and innovation. In other words, what is the place of water in the next generations of R&I, research and innovation policies, up to and including with the framework of the new program baptized Horizon Europe. We wish to see INBO contribute to the next generation, as I called it, through inter alia, a new tool, a new partnership, which is called Water for All, which will be dedicated to the challenges and the stakes of management of water resources and to all the water-related innovations. So I would like to invite you, if this subject is of interest to you, and we're going to work on this topic with a representative of the DG R&I of Europe. Tomorrow, we have made the choice, a little more exotic, if you allow me, to focus our work on city basin dialogue. We are maybe distancing ourselves from the stricto sensu European policies on water. And we have opened a session which will be collecting testimonials of other regions, of other cities, other regulatory context and environment. At 10:10 tomorrow morning, the workshop meeting will be dedicated to addressing this city basin dialogue, and jointly with EIP, we are organizing this workshop to introduce to you the Manuel methodological guide on the city basin relationship that Euro-INBO and EIP are currently finalizing. And we have been very fortunate and honored to prepare this session not only with EIP, but also with UNESCO and with OECD, who will also be active participants to our session tomorrow. The manual is being finalized. Several case studies have already been collected or collated, and you will be able to have a foretaste thereof tomorrow during the workshop, thereby contributing to the finalization and enrichment of this manual. In the afternoon, the workshop will still be addressing this interaction between the urban level and the basin level through a European project that has been committed or initiated a couple of months back, Fairway for Water, which is also dedicated to innovations, digital innovations, most specifically, that allows us to better manage the water and sanitation services and potentially to better address, if not the management of water resources at basin level. And this is exactly where we are going to be zeroing on our works tomorrow afternoon in order to know as to how the level of basins and the work of river basin organizations would have been tapping all of these technological breakthroughs on and around the data information system in order to facilitate our work. So this is, I know that many of you have registered for this Euro-INBO online conference. At the last tallying, we have collected no less than 277 registrations over these 2 days from 47 countries. We are, of course, very delighted, very honored, very proud to have received such a strong turnout. And this is speaking volume about your keenness to be mobilized, which is tantamount to the mobilization of all of the INBO technical permanent technical standing secretariat at the OIE or the Water International office. And this is certainly a very important moment. And I hope everything is going to be seamless, productive, and smooth for these 2 working days through this new format of session holding. And we're going to try and propose, as much as possible, interactivity, possibilities for exchanges. And I reckon that despite distance, despite the fact that we are, each one of us, of course, separated in our respective offices, we are collectively able to better interact. And I would like to invite you to really tap into all of the opportunities being given to us. Now, with a little headway on the time, I would like to declare officially open our 18th INBO Europe conference. And after this first niche of official introductory remarks, I'm now going to give the floor to our Master of Ceremony for the workshop dedicated to water and agriculture. Now, he now appears on the screen. We were all waiting for him, and I'll now give him the floor. Yannick Pochon, you have the floor for serving as a moderator of the workshop, which is going to start in a couple of seconds. Yannick, over to you.
Mike. Avec le micro, nous pourrons ainsi profiter non seulement de l'image, mais aussi.
We can get not only the nice picture, but also your voice. Yannick, over to you. Now you can continue on.
Thank you, everyone.
Merci, Eric.
We are running a bit early on the schedule, and we've seen that lastly some additional participants have just joined. Perhaps I can ask Edouard to begin with some of the recommendations for following correctly the event, because we will try today to propose a mix between presentations, but also lively interactions, as we are always looking for at the Europe-INBO conference. So if you can all please try to rename yourself, not rename yourself fully, not administratively, but at least for today, specifying especially the language you would like to speak and follow, because that will help us later on to split the work between groups. And we will propose some activities, we'll try to propose some activities for your participation based on your language. So if you please can take a few moments just to do so, you just have to click on your picture on the upper right corner, and you will be able to manage to do that, hopefully. So please take few minutes to do this. That will help us to know the balance between participants and the language they would like to benefit from. Yes, thank you. I see the name are being changed right now. Thanks a lot for doing this. So today, basically, we will try to adapt ourselves, being resilient, as we promote in the water management world. So we will try to have first an exchange on the agricultural aspects. The CAP, you know that there are a lot of news. I don't know if you read the newspaper, probably online, but there are a lot of new things coming at the European context. So that year we decided to tackle the aspect of new common agricultural policies. And we decided this last year, making a lot of preparatory works. But then just with the new commission coming, the European Commission coming, and the announce of big initiatives on the Green Deal, the Farm to Fork, but also the Biodiversity agenda, we thought it was a good opportunity for us water managers to try to tackle a bit those issues. So this is the topic of today for beginning. So I will present you first with what we will try to aim at today and what we hope you will be able to contribute to. So the topic of our workshop is the new common agricultural policy. Is it an opportunity for water policies? So that workshop will last from now to 2:30 p.m. And as always, within the Europe-INBO, we always try to rely on the exchanges of what you can bring as participants and what the network can bring. So each year since 2000, I don't know, it's the 13th time we are doing such a workshop. Each year we try to follow what are the current subjects of interest at European level and try to discuss all together in an informal way and not tied with official involvement as member state, as basin authorities that we all face on a daily basis, but to speak very freely and to look at what are the evolution, what are the news, and how, as water managers, basin organization, we can cope with them and try to propose some improvement and recommendations. This workshop is based on many preparatory works. I don't know, since the beginning of the year, mostly. We had some pause, confined, but yet we were discussing this, and I want to thank especially the French Office for Biodiversity and some networks representative also that have been involved a lot in this preparation. And what we try to reach today is to balance the presentations between European context or framework and feedbacks and case studies from national or local experiences that you will benefit from today, that will be broadcast to you as case studies. But more importantly, the main objective is for us as Europe-INBO, as organizers, but as water manager, is to promote, to identify some concrete recommendations that we can push up and level up to give it to the European Commission in the frame of a common implementation strategy for applying the directives, but also to be able to make some learning together on what are the best possibilities and what are we able to, I would say, content to or to engage in order to improve the relation between the CAP, the agriculture, and the work of water managers. Why agriculture? Definitely, and most of you in your own country are knowing that water and agriculture are deeply tied since a while, since the age of times. Sometimes we have a passionate, sometimes fighting relationship between agriculture people and water managers, but we cannot work separately. Agriculture without water and water management without taking care of agriculture is a nonsense. So this is why it is still important to keep on the dialogue, trying to see what we can improve, trying to learn from each other and being much more in touch that we are by nature often in fact in a daily work. Sorry. Comes the new CAP. The last CAP program was supposed to end this year in 2020. If you look at the newspapers nowadays, there is a lot of news and articles on the new CAP, the green CAP. Definitely, it is a trending topic. And we all are expecting a lot of improvements in terms of the relation between CAP and water management. So that was an obvious choice to tackle this topic. But at the same time, and last year, end of last year, there was also a big involvement of the EU new Commission to launch some initiatives and to give a green orientation at the EU level, and namely the Green Deal, the Farm to Fork, and in this context of renewing the CAP. So obviously that was an interesting topic for us to cover. And I hope today we will have some good presentations and good exchanges on that matter. And as water managers involved in the WFD and RBMPs, so River Basin Management Plans preparation, we day to day have a lot to look upon in the relation with agriculture, between agriculture and water, sorry, because agriculture is a pressure. It is a chance to give within the RBMPs a lot of measures in order to improve and to reach the objectives of the WFD. But sometimes we must frankly say that it is also a burden, because those pressures are sometimes tremendous and they need to be dealt with. So this is why we choose this topic today. So how we will propose to organize the discussion today. Looking at the agenda. First part, the introduction, will be devoted to knowing a bit more about the context. What is the plan in terms of Green Deal, the future CAP, the initiatives Farm to Fork? Unfortunately, as mentioned by Bettina daughter this morning, the project officer in charge at the DG Environment is not able to participate. She's ill, and we learned on Friday that she will not be able to give the talk that she was supposed to today. So as a collective work over the weekend, we tried as a network secretariat to propose to you a kind of summary of initiatives. I know we won't be able to give as many answers because we were, and all of us were, mostly waiting for asking questions to the Commission on that regard. But nevertheless, we try to make the best summary as possible of those initiatives to give you as much as possible a lot of resources and links to look to if you are interested in the subject. So I hope this will be beneficial and that will set up the scene for us to exchange later on. Then in this preliminary session, we will also have an experience feedback from Mr. Cyrille Barnérias at the French Office for Biodiversity. He will give us some information on the way his institution is involved in preparing and adapting the water management aspects, but also the biodiversity aspects in line with the CAP developments and the way in France they are working at the moment. Then we will have a set of questions and I hope answers, inshallah, that we will be able to discuss. Then after that, we separated the works in two main working sessions. The first of those working sessions will be basically to take stocks and to have some feedback on the current synergy or relation between CAP and water policies. You will benefit from two case studies during that session, that working session. We decided not to make another water manager or basin organization presentation, but rather to give the floor to one initiative or one governance organization, let's say, the way agriculture is taking and is organizing itself as an initiative where one can say water managers are not always sufficiently involved. And that speech will be given by Céline Karasinski from EIP AGRI. And she will present this framework of cooperation. And for most of us, while preparing the event, it was something new. And I hope it will also be something new for you. And she will give us also some way forward in the future on how, as water people, we can also get involved in such initiatives that were designed at the beginning or that were participated to at the beginning mostly by the agricultural community. And then, because you will see that it's not always easy to reach all objectives in reaching the ecological status, and sometimes, and more often than not, agriculture is a bit blamed for that. We will also give the floor to a European project, Project Fairway, represented today by Mr. Nicolas Surdyk, and he will give us some kind of research-oriented insights on the necessary time for the measures to be implemented, but more importantly, to have an effect. So after those two case studies, we will have the time for exchanges, mostly through the chat, where you will be able to send us the questions, the remark. There will be polls also where you can express yourself. And yeah, we usually at Europe-INBO, the workshop is based on direct interactions, splitting into groups, working on post-its, having nice chat with people we don't know at coffee time. All this year is a bit difficult to organize, but we wanted to keep the spirit. So this is why the second session we will try to organize it a bit like that. The second session will be really, and this is the core of our spirit at Europe-INBO, to give some recommendations and perspectives. So after the lunch break, we will have a try to have direct interactions. First of all, Manuel Sapiano from Malta, as water director and DG of OIEau, will give us some insights on what are the perspectives as regards for Malta, what is the situation, and what are the possible improvements when we turn towards the new CAP. And then we try to organize a workshop time in split groups where each of you will be able to directly propose some recommendations. It's something new for us. I hope also it will be something new for you. We don't know yet how it will end up, but we really wanted to maintain the spirit of direct contribution. So we are trying our best today to keep this format. So please be nice to us. You will probably encounter some difficulty, but resilience is today's main word. So let's cope with it, and we'll try to make that all together. So this is it for the agenda. I will now move, and as I said, trying to not replace the DG environment, but as setting the scene and as a context, trying to present to you what are the news, what are our situation in terms of WFD and water objectives currently, and what does it mean with our relation with agriculture. Then, and I know many of you are expecting this information to be given. We have tried over the weekend to summarize what we know and what we don't know, and what are the current improvements in terms of the Green Deal, the Farm to Fork, but also the EU biodiversity agenda. And then I will try also to give you some information on the CAP, the new CAP, and the current development regarding this. So here we go, agriculture and water and WFD. Most of you really know that. Water Framework Directive was key to the European water management principles. It's been a while now, since 2000. Yet we are still struggling to achieve the good chemical, ecological, and quantitative status by 2027. In order to do so, member states are required to identify the water bodies, their status, and to propose some RBMPs, so river basin management plans, to address the water issues and in order to improve the situation. We are now looking towards the third cycle of RBMPs. We had the second cycle is on the go and being implemented in all basins. But there were a lot of discussions and official positions, especially with the fitness check of the EU on will we be able to reach those objectives? If not, what we're gonna do after 2027? And what are the proposals of basin organizations? What are the reasons some improvements were not up to the expectations? So this is where we stand at the moment, looking forward for the further BMP's preparation, implementing the second ones, and at the same time, preparing ourselves to at least meet as much as possible the requirements, but also preparing ourselves a bit for the future if we are not always able to reach everywhere this good status or ecological status by 2027. When it comes to water and agriculture, definitely it is a tremendous topic and a tremendous story. We are all discussing about climate change, the fast-growing population, and the way we will be able to feed this population. Definitely the water resources in terms of quantity and quality are a very important ground in order to achieve this development for humanity. And Europe has tried to work on both ways, sustaining agriculture and at the same time trying to reach to, let's say, diminish its effect on waters, and at the same time trying to promote the biodiversity conservation. And at the moment, 2020, this is a turning point because we are really right at the middle of these exchanges between the European policies, because we have a new CAP coming. We also have all those biodiversity Green Deal initiatives, and agriculture is a major pillar and a major topic in order to reach and to support this transition or these new orientations that at the EU level we are promoting. Definitely, you all know that agriculture has an impact, a significant impact on water quality, water quantities, and I guess in all of our member states, we are discussing a lot about the use of pesticides, the too much important use of nutrients, the effects on the biodiversity of the industrialized agriculture. Yet at the same time, we are also more and more relying on the agriculture to sustain and to be part of this transition towards a greener and sustainable development of all societies. So definitely there is a strong relationship, probably more in terms of topics than in governance, because you will probably have a chance to discuss that, but the relation between the agriculture world and the water world is sometimes a bit of a conflict, and it's not always smooth, but yet we must really recognize that there is no way that we can keep on working so separately. In terms of practical figures, in terms of W implementation, in 2018, the EEA report has shown definitely that for the moment, the situation is a bit better for groundwaters, but for 3/4 and a bit more, we are reaching some good already chemical status or quantitative status. But unfortunately, the situation is diverse in terms of countries, but also it is really worse for surface water, where we can see that a bit more than 2/3 of them are in good chemical status, and a bit less than 40% are already reaching the good ecological status. This was the situation in 2018. And if we look back at the improvement we try to reach, and sometimes we can notice between the first and the second RBMPs, one can say that by figures and by the way itself the directive is designed, we are not always able to show tremendous progress. So this is something that is a bit worrying for many reasons, but also internally for water managers, the way we are able to present this, as there are many reasons, and sometimes the effort, which are very significant, are not always shown by the results and the statistics or the monitoring results we are able to show to the people. Sometimes this is because the measures we already took take much more time to show or to express themselves by the monitoring aspects or by the results. The rivers, the ecosystems based on those rivers, they took time to recover. But let's be frank as well. We did have sometimes slow introduction of measures. It's not always easy to make a huge shift in terms of our policies and to find the correct tools to implement the measures, despite of our will as water managers. Sometimes also the political will to back up this stance. But nevertheless, we are faced with sometimes cruel figures from the move between first and second RBMP. And we will have really to keep on working and keep on pushing in order to improve those figures and those numbers. If we look at the role of agriculture and the relation of agriculture and water, and especially when it comes to the success or relative success of the WFD and RBMP's implementations. Definitely everyone recognizes that impacts from agriculture are amongst the most significant pressures identified by all the reporting of member states, most of member states. Obviously the situation is a bit diverse in the European context, but still, in terms of diffuse pollutions, in terms of water abstractions, there is still a lot to be done. And this relationship between agriculture and water is still not yet significantly positive or enough to make the improvements. Obviously, RBMP is not everything, and there is a lot as basic measures that rely upon other directives when it comes to agriculture, especially the nitrate directive, but also what is planned in the CAP, because all the basic measures, they are the ground, the smaller pillar that we can ensure. But on top of that, in terms of agriculture, there is a lot of effort to be made on voluntary measures. And voluntary measures, they mean you must find a way to concretely make the people buy for it or take them, accept the burden of taking them, implementing them in the field, and finding the correct way to finance them. And then once you manage to do that, you also have the need to check their effectiveness and the way they are actually promoting and going in the right direction towards the RBMP and the ecological status improvement. So that is the situation as an introduction regarding the WFD implementation and the agriculture. This is definitely not the first time at European level this topic is raised and is discussed. There were plenty of discussions, plenty of workshops, seminars, also in the common implementation strategy that many of you are involved in, there were some expert group on agriculture, always discussing the same topics. Or are we able to link CAP with our daily duties as water managers? What are the relations between agriculture? There were numerous, even plenty of research projects trying to tackle this link and to better understand it, but also to make proposals and improvements. So we are not saying today that we are bringing something new. We are just keeping on working on that subject. And as said previously, this is the right time because there is a shift in terms of European opportunities and in terms also of greening of the CAP. So for us water managers, it is the chance today to think, stop and think on the way we can better be involved and the way we can try to improve ourselves reaching those goals. So this is the part where I stole over the weekend many information from the European colleagues at DG Environment, trying to present to you what is the situation, what are the initiatives, and what are the possibilities for us to contribute to. So we will try to present brief information on what is the Green Deal, what is the farm to fork initiatives, and probably some links with the biodiversity strategy as well. If you look at the European Green Deal, it is not fresh, but it is still young initiatives covering a lot of sectors in the policies and in the society, in the European society in general. But among several policies that are aiming to green the policies and the leverage that the EU can put to the member states and propose and fund, there are some that are very important for us today in our topic. The first one is the farm to fork strategy, which is a way the Commission has proposed to better make the linkages between what we are doing in terms of common agriculture and the linkages between also the sustainable development of the agricultural sector, also the changes in the agricultural sector, the organic farming, and we'll go back to that in a few moments. There is also a lot of willingness in the Green Deal to transform the agriculture, to contribute to the reform of the CAP, but also to make the link between other fields of the environment and sustainable development, which are circular economy, the biodiversity, and the financing of the transition. So definitely we have, probably we can even replace the blue with stars, the blue flag with yellow stars by a green flag with yellow stars. But this is a political will shown at the EU level in order to take this change and to adapt for the coming years into a more green proposal of our European policies. There was definitely, as I said, farm to fork and the greening of CAP, they will have a greatest impact on the farming and the food sector. But in direct connection with that, it will also have a very important impact on our duties as water managers today. So clearly now we are trying to put together the environmental laws, the will of environmental protection, biodiversity, and the climate ambitions that we are all facing with the reform of the common agricultural policies. In order to do so, the proposal was to make some national strategic plans for agriculture, but taking stocks of all those environmental concerns and conditionality. We'll get back to this in each member state. There was also the Farm to Fork strategy launched or announced early in 2020, which is aiming at proposing a lot of initiatives this year or beginning of next year, where we add some important political stance on the chemical use, the pesticides, the fertilizer, and the increase of the organic sector in terms of farming and agriculture. Farm to Fork. I don't know if many of you have heard about it. Definitely the Farm to Fork is within the Green Deal, the proposal by the Commission and taken up by the European Council, hopefully, and the European Parliament to define some clear targets by 2030 for improving the relation between agriculture and the environment. So targets were set, they are already known. You can see them on your screen. Basically, it's trying to reduce the use of chemical and more hazardous pesticide by 50% in 2030. It is also to tackle the excess of nutrients. We know that in the past, we already, with the nitrate directive, make a lot of effort, but nowadays, clearly, the objectives are stated in the marble. They are political will, and we will have to know or we'll be able to reach them. But still, this is a political will, and this is a European will in order to reduce those nutrients. There are also some concerns and objectives in terms of antimicrobial resistance, which is not new, but it is one of the first time it is clearly introduced in the objectives, and the highlights and the lights are put on this issue. And which is very important for us as well as water management, organic farming, 20% of total farmland being used for organic farming by 2030. Those are the targets of the Farm to Fork. I can also just give insights, a very short one, on the importance of within the Green Deal, the EU biodiversity strategy, because definitely we all know that nowadays biodiversity, water, agriculture, those are all interlinked. And having the chance to have this strategy for 2030 as part of a new EU Green Deal, but also as a background for us as water managers to put some of those funding, but also objectives in our ABMPs is a huge chance. So as regards this EU biodiversity strategy, the objectives are stated are quite clear. 30% of land in Europe establish protected areas, 30% of sea in Europe, same, established as protected areas. In order to do so, the will and the objective is also to trying to restore what we have done wrong in the past and restore the degraded ecosystems, both at land and sea. And that goes with the increase of organic farming, the restoring of 20,000 kilometers of EU rivers, planting of trees, and as already stated, the reducing of pesticides used by 50%. So we have now this triangle, the Green Deal, the CAP, the biodiversity strategy that is framing and giving us some hopes and probably opportunities on the way we are planning the water management. And today, those are not only, but mostly objectives. And there is a lot to be achieve in terms of applying, finding the way, finding the rules, finding the budget in order to do so. But the horizon and this willingness is important for us to take stock. And that could change a bit of things and that could ease the way we see all this. Now I'll switch to the Common Agricultural Policy, and that will be the last part of this presentation. Definitely most of you know that since a while, I don't even remember, 64 or something, the Common Agricultural Policy is playing a key role in terms of EU overall functions and budget. It was mostly the most important tool in order to sustain and strengthen the European farmers and the agricultural sector in the past. But since the current CAP, and most obviously in the next one, the objective and the will is really to put a clear, a clear orientation towards green agriculture and the way agriculture recognize the impact and the way, most important, it could play a key role in terms of biodiversity, water management, and sustainable development of the societies. So this is the objective of the new CAP. There were a lot of words in terms of the relation between CAP and water. As we already said, it was not an easy relationship between agriculture, the CAP, and the water people, one can say. I'm just presenting to you an interesting report that was released in February this year, which tried to analyze this relation and the assessment of the impact on the CAP towards the water management and the water status, to put it simple. It was a coherent and comprehensive assessment which look at the effectiveness, the choices, the potential innovations, all the usual EU process when you have to look at the assessment of a policy. But those are the keywords we can take stock in this report. There is still a lot to be done on cross-compliance. We still have an issue in order to guarantee the use of fundings in the CAP and the objectives in terms of biodiversity and water. Too much rely on voluntary measures. The conditionality systems, which means when you found something with the CAP, you have to make sure they are also in line with other sectors and especially with the environmental sector and the environmental policies. It is yet not fully in line and it is not fully successful. The CAP, the previous one, has also a tendency to favor some sectors and some size of the agricultural communities. The bigger you are, the most important in terms of gross production you are, the easiest it was sometimes to reach to the CAP funds. We still have a lot of issues in terms of the CAP funding towards pesticides amounts, toward the clear water quantitative issues and the climate change effect. And it also says, this report, that you need to better target the measures. And for us, this is very important to recognize because those measures are the ones we are putting in our RBMPs as basic measures as well. A second document, which was published in May, is also very interesting. And this is a chance for me to mention that within this workshop, we are putting all together a lot of resources, a document where you will find access to all those interesting documentation and reports produced by the European Commission as background. But we also intend, through your contribution today, to stock and to pile all the initiatives and all the resources document you are able to provide on this issue. So that was just for you to know that we are also aiming to gather many information. But going back to this staff working document, there was in May the analysis of the links between the CAP reform and the Green Deal, which was interesting for us to look to. And I also try to show to you a brief table, which is all the analysis of all the proposal in terms of CAP strategic plans regulation could fit with or being associated to Green Deal targets. So definitely for the moment, there is an effort to look at all those initiatives are cross-cutting themselves and the way we can try to make use of them for water managers, but also all they connect at the EU level between each other. What about the CAP post-2020? What we know? In 2018, the proposal of a new CAP was presented at EU level. It is based on 9 specific objectives. Among those, 3 are directly linked with climate and environment. It is a shift, at least in the way it is presented, towards better climate change mitigation and adaptation, a more green and sustainable development, taking stock of the biodiversity and ecosystem services objectives at the EU. It also tries to improve the system of conditions to be met by the farmers in order to benefit from the CAP. And it provides a set of many voluntary tools to be offered to farmers. So voluntary measures are being reinforced, they are diversified, and in the CAP, we hope they will play a more important role, but they also need to be correctly designed, promote, and fund in order to be effective. So here are just the 9 objectives. So the ones we are mostly dealing with today are the climate change vaccine, the environmental care, the relation with landscape and biodiversity. So among those 9 objectives, some of those are really important for us in terms of our environment and water management. The new model for the CAP 2020, the EU level and the member states. The EU level, what is done at the EU is to give the objectives, to set up common indicators. The EU level, there will be also providing with the type of interventions that are allowed and the rule in order to imply them. The funding, obviously, is provided at the EU level through member state contribution to the budget. The EU will also be in charge to assess and approve the strategic CAP plans. At EU level, there will also be the monitoring and the performance auditing of those plans. What are the duties and the activities as member states? Member states should perform a SWOT and need analysis in terms of the CAP reform. They have to translate the EU objectives into national targets. They choose the interventions, and very important, they have to develop their own member states' strategic CAP plans. And this is where the water managers could play a role, hopefully. And then the member states, as always, with the EU, we have to report on performance and compliance. So there are some conditionality rules that are applying in the CAP now. So it means the other EU environmental protection policies, they are fully taken into account and they must apply in order to get funding from the CAP. There is also this new scheme, or the new possibility or tool is to develop what they call eco schemes, which is a way based on the voluntary basis to promote some new activities concretely by the farmers or group of farmers, and they are clearly trying to promote a strong link with environmental and climate management commitments based on a voluntary commitments by farmers. So here is the summary of what we received, the differences between the current architecture in the CAP and the new one. And you can see that it is a bit simplified, but the eco schemes will play a very important part. The mandatory requirements by farmers, they are not changed much, but they include a lot of environmental requirements. But a lot of emphasis is put also on the voluntary measures. So the CAP strategic plans, and I guess our next speaker, Cyrille, will also give some example of the way we can be involved in that. Those are very important because they are developed at each member states. And most often than not, they are developed by the Ministry of Agriculture staff. They must consult with all national stakeholders. And this is where us, water managers, could play a role, make sure to participate and make sure to advocate for the RBMP objectives, make sure to advocate on the way the linkages between measures in the RBMPs and the funding from the CAP could be found. So this is a really, really important, crucial time now because those plans are being developed right now in each of the member states. So we really have to pay attention to those. Last slide. Sorry, I was a bit long. I tried to get a bit more in line with the agenda. No, definitely. What I tried to present to you was what we know. What are the main objectives? What is the political will? What are the current presentations available and documents available on the issue at EU level? But as we say, it is a really crucial time and an ongoing process because the strategic plans in each member state are under development. So there is still time for us to lobby, to act, to interact, and to partner with our agriculture fellows in order to be of benefit in order of developing those plans. In a more European level, there is also a lot going on. Between 20 and 23rd October, so last 2 weeks ago, there were many votes in the EU Parliament on the CAP reform. So the objectives, the targets, they are set, but the way EU and the member states are trying to reach them or will reach them are not yet set. And there are mixed feelings about those votes recently. Some saying that it is a clear improvement as compared to what was existing in the past. Many are also saying that yet it is not sufficient enough, and the devil hides in details, right? So there are many modifications proposed by the European Parliament members of Parliament, in terms of conditionality, the definition of rules, and all those are being discussed and they are being set up right now. Some interesting improvement from those votes is that the MPs, the EU MPs have proposed to increase a bit the budget on environmental issue in terms of the second pillar on voluntary aspects. So those are mixed feelings, and we have to lobby as much as possible and to look at them thoroughly if we want to be of use for water management. Then the next step would be the trilogues. There will be strong discussion between the EU Council, the EU Parliament, and the Commission as an observatory or advisor towards the EU Council and the EU Parliament. And they will take place very soon or in the beginning of 2021. And this is the time where we will really receive the detail on the way the CAP will be implemented and the way we can act and put a bit of pressure or benefit from that cap reform. So this is it for the introduction. Hoping that it was of benefit for setting the context. I know it's not replacing, especially the many questions you could have, a presentation from the DG environment, but this is what we were able to gather all together with the preparation team and to present to you as an introduction to this workshop today. Thank you. No, I switched from speaker to meeting facilitator. If you agree, we will listen to Cyrille Barnérias' presentation. And he will present us what is the views of the French Office for Biodiversity and its involvement in terms of preparation of the strategy plans. And then we will have a time for trying to take your feedbacks and questions and answering them. Thank you. Cyrille?
Oui, bonjour, buenos dias, hello everybody. I'm very happy to join today. Je vais partager donc mon écran.
I'm going to be sharing my screen.
Quelques secondes le temps que l'ordinateur réagisse.
Just bear with me a couple of seconds. I'm just waiting for my computer to start. Okay, to show the slides. The office, the French Biodiversity Office is very happy to be here. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all of you and to thank the Europe-INBO and our Maltese French to have been able to adapt and organize this very important workshop in very complicated conditions. For us, for the French Biodiversity Office, the OFB, it is a great opportunity to talk about the new Common Agricultural Policy that has almost reached its last phase, and EU member states are now drawing the lessons from their previous CAP, and now they are preparing their national strategies. First of all, setting the scene. So France is a very large agricultural country. It's a very huge contributor to CAP, 9.1 billion euros per year. The degradation of the water quality related to the very high agricultural pesticides costs over 1 billion per year for French citizens. This is the cost of agriculture-related water pollution. And a large part of surface water bodies account for 37.1%, and 13.9% of underground water is really kind of concerned by the pollution, and 10% of France's water withdrawal is used for irrigation. So irrigation and agriculture is the first water user. And knowing that there is a growing issue for water scarcity also, and water stress in France and Europe. So I'd like to say a couple of words on the French Biodiversity Agency. It is a pretty young agency. It has been created on the 1st of January 2020. Merging from the expertise of former agencies that used to work on marine waters and land biodiversity. So this is the eagerness on the very strong political will of the French state to strengthen the water resources management with biodiversity. So the missions of the French Biodiversity Agency reflects the will to really regroup and link both water and biodiversity. We have over 800 what we call biodiversity agents all over France, monitoring and preventing damages to water and environment, developing knowledge and data. And they also implement together the state and national and European public policies. They do research. So in other words, they come up with national and territorial information and documents that are shared with local authorities, namely in catchment areas. However, the French Biodiversity Agency works on actors, mobilization, capacity building, support to policy making, and also protecting protected areas. Therefore, the French Biodiversity Agency has full legitimacy to bring its expertise in the national discourse and debates, which led us to the CAP discussion. So in 2019, the OIEB's participation to the NSP elaboration with the pre-consultation process led by the Ministry for Agriculture. And this actually aimed at the design and elaboration of a national diagnosis leading to a large strategic plan. In the beginning of 2020, a very broad citizen consultation took place led by the National Commission on Water. And this is the very first time, it was the very first time that this debate was open to the citizens in France. This will organized by online discussions and debates with contributions online that are encompassed and mainstreamed into the national policies. So the broad citizen consultation has just closed. It's pretty new and brand new. Maybe you've heard about it. And this was actually done during the American and US elections. And it was it actually became the official and institutional position. So customers or actors, terms of preferences, and all the consultations are always taken into account. So the main recommendations for the next CAP are quite classical for some of them. Restore and, of course, valorize the landscape features, hedges, wetlands, grasslands. That are paramount elements for the persistence and preservancy and protection of the biodiversity in France. We also support and recognize the pesticides and fertilizer reduction in the framework of the new PAC. Of course, the OFB does foster and support as I said, the mitigation of fertilizer use in the agricultural sector, both in soils, in water resources, and fertilizers, leading to sanitary problems and huge challenges. So the CAP should also enable the mitigation of the use of these fertilizers and pesticides with some funds that will help the implementation of biological, environmental friendly measures to foster climate adaptation and water use. And of course, increased territorial adaptation of measures. We also come up with incentive measures for climate adaptation and biodiversity and adapt the approaches in the territorial level. This is a paramount and core part of our recommendation that require very specific measures that need to be adapted to the local context and realities. If we have very open areas, this is different from other areas, wetlands or grasslands. The second key recommendation is to really come up with or developing a systemic support and collective approach rather than surface-based individual payments. And this is very important, namely to allow the appropriation by farmers of all these European measures and help them gain ownership and come up with collective measures in a territory. And this is very important and relevant for water resources management. I will close this presentation of measures, but if I may, I'd like to go through three main important measures as to upscale experimental measures and innovations. And for this, CAP will be like a safety net for the experimental measure and also implementing innovation measures at territorial level. And CAP should also to better monitor and assess and evaluate and build the capacities of farmers on water biodiversity impacts. And really, we need to work hand in hand with farmers, present and future farmers, in order to help them ensure the shift or the biodiversity shift and help them during the implementation of the new CAP in terms of environmental sustainability. And lastly, I'd like to insist on the importance to monitor, adapt the measures with regards to their impact on biodiversity and water. It is important to monitor and assess all the commitments that have been applied in some cases, but monitoring the efficiency of all the measures should be further strengthened by protocols and dedicated animation means and measures. Also, the monitoring and follow-up should be remunerated throughout the whole French territory. So this is, in a nutshell, a brief overview of the impact of CAP and the initiatives of the French Biodiversity Agency, whom, by the way, are some of us are in attendance with us. And this is a snapshot of what is being implemented right now and the future prospect. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Cyrille, for these presentations on the way in France the OFB is contributing and seeing the things. We have time for a bit of questions and answers. Definitely some answers will be pushed to the European Commission as they are not present, but still, I want to remind you that today is a collective work, and we have a number of secretariat staff that are here today, so they will read your questions and proposals in the chat, so please use it freely for us to comment or to gather either contributions, links, or questions directly to the speakers. So, for the moment, we had some questions on the carbon border adjustment, the way another European initiatives or mechanism could play a role towards the topic of the agriculture. Personally, I'm not sure I'm accustomed to this mechanism, but obviously this is something the participants and ourselves we can look upon and put some more linkages and resources in the document that will come out of a workshop. There was also a questions on the way the efficient use of water is combined with the agricultural development, which is probably a question that many of you are asking themselves also. And a question on all this framework and its relationships regarding the international exchanges and especially the importations in the EU. So definitely the participants are broadening the scope, which is, I believe, yet very broad, but still okay. It gives us many options to extend the discussions. There is also one specific question about does the quantitative management is integrally part of the eco schemes. So if there is someone working on the eco schemes development in the audience, please do not hesitate to give an answer in the chat box. If you do so. Personally, the frank answer is, I don't know. On the eco schemes, what we have as a resource is some practical guidelines and manuals produced at the EU level in order to develop eco schemes. But I don't have an answer right now to this very specific question. So if any of the participants would like to contribute on that, please do not hesitate. Another tough yet interesting question is how will we be able to know that the rules for shifting from voluntary to compulsory compliance? Because we have heard that there are a lot of things from the pillar 1 that are now also included in the pillar 2, but there is a lot of willingness to really much more rely on the voluntary basis. So the question behind is also who will be in charge to do this and how the water managers will be able to be involved in such a development. Perhaps a direct trick question to Cyrille. In that regard, do you or any of our colleagues from Cyrille in France or in your institutions, development of eco schemes and the way your institutions in terms of biodiversity and water could play a role in those developments? Or is it at the moment mostly based on the national strategic plan?
Oui, merci pour cette question. Alors, effectivement, pour l'instant,
thank you for this question. Yes, for the time being, there is a national debate, including on eco schemes, and more broadly on the PSN, and the Ministry of Agriculture did indicate that it will also associate stakeholders for a wider consultation on the National Strategic Plan, the NSP. through community consultation that I just mentioned. And hence, we can imagine that there will be more information as to the measures and the implementation in France as in the other states, I gather, of what is included in the CAP. Thank you. Thank you, Cyrille. We are getting from the chat remarks. Voilà, je suis passé au français, dit l'orateur. Voilà, voilà.
The way the interlinks between agriculture, water uses, and the topic of water scarcity and water quantities will be covered in the agricultural policies, especially if you consider granting new extractions or withdrawing water rights and the sustainable water use. Would it be part of the agriculture, or will it be part of the usual daily water management and the water police, as we say in French? So definitely from what we have seen at the time is each member state has its law following or transposing the European one. And in terms of water abstractions, each member state is free to define its own set of rules as long as they respect what are implemented. Interesting question as well, or remark on the treated wastewater. I guess Manuel later on during the day could give you some information on that. Definitely something we haven't mentioned is the linkages in the Green Deal with circular economy. And you know that for the moment, in terms of treated wastewaters and its use in agriculture, it is the only topic where we have EU regulations or recommendations towards it. So definitely it is part of the framework in terms of policies and regulations. Indeed, and again, it's not the same in all member states, but there was a trial before at European level to link the circular economy aspects on treated wastewaters and its use in agriculture. Okay, so we have some examples also on the scale of definition and management of eco schemes. And we are also seeing that there is an answer that mostly eco schemes are being designed at member state level. But if member states wants to apply another administrative or management unit to it, it could be feasible, and it could be sensible, as many other agriculture projects and development are relying on some of the regional aspects in each of our member states. So those water availability and quantity. Okay, so thanks, folks, for sending some contribution. We have also some questions on the limits imposed in terms of at watershed level on the use of water. Again, at European level and even at national level, this is not covered clearly by the definition of the eco schemes and the RDPs or the CAP development and rules. But this is clearly something that could be included in the national regulations, but also at the basin level. So this is something most of you as water managers are already working on. So I don't see any more input, comments or questions. What we can do in order to summarize and to recall to all participants that we are not all agriculture specialists. And what we can do is to show you, when you register, there was a questionnaire that was sent, and we try to gather some knowledge on what is your current knowledge of the CAP and agriculture policies. So we will just, before switching to another topic, we will just share with you the results of these questions and answers you have provided. And it is now the chance for me to introduce Julie and Simon that have worked with us in preparing and this workshop. And it is the chance for me to give them a warm thank you. So Julie, could you perhaps show us the results of initial questions before we move on to the first working session?
Yes, Yannick, thank you. So we just asked the participants to answer a question about the level of coordination between CAP and Water Framework Directive in their country, and among more than 100 responses, we can see that the majority of the participants voted for a medium or less than a medium choice, and only a quarter of the respondents have chosen a level above the average. So it seems that there are still improvements, to be made in order to link CAP and Water Framework Directive. And we hope that this workshop can contribute to this, even in small scale. And so now, just before the two case studies, we will propose you to answer a new short poll about what impact do you think the current CAP had on water resources. And so please, Edouard, if you can show the poll to the participants, thank you. And I will take this opportunity while you complete the survey to introduce you quickly the two case studies of showing action and projects linked to water and agriculture issues that will be presented to you. So we will so do not hesitate to answer the poll, and we will debrief it after the two case study presentations. So for the case study, we will begin with Céline Karasinski from the European Innovation Partnership Service Point, and she will tell us about operational groups. So I think it's a very interesting tool for people working also on agriculture and also on water. And it's a tool that can link very diverse stakeholders. And then we will have Nicolas Surdyk from the European project Fairway, who will present a case study from his project. And do not hesitate during the presentation to ask questions in the chat, or to just tell us about your own examples or your own feelings about what is shown, and then we could have a time to discuss. So thank you. I'll let the floor to Céline if you are ready.
Yes, I am ready. So I try to share my screen now. And sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, but like this.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah. So good morning, everyone. Nice to meet you, even if it's an online meeting and not a face-to-face meeting, and thank you for this invitation. I am Céline Karasinski for the EIP AGRI service print. I work part-time for this organization, and I work also part-time for a Chamber of Agriculture in France. I have managed several events around water topic. One focus group called What Farm Level Adaptation Strategy Exists and Can Be Developed to Lead with Water Scarcity. And I have also managed a workshop around water management in terms of quantity in Almeria in May in 2080. So what is the EIP AGRI service, is the EIP AGRI concept? The EIP AGRI is, the aim of the EIP is to foster a competitive and sustainable agriculture and forestry sector that achieves more from less. By closing the innovation gap between research and practice. This is the main aim of this EIP AGRI concept. In the EIP AGRI, you have three main points. Horizon 2020, it's, there are some project, multi-actor project and thematic networks. Maybe you know these tools, Horizon 2020, which will become Horizon Europe in the next CAP. The second point is the Rural Development Program. And in this Rural Development Program, you have the operational group. And I have chosen to tell you about these financial tools because I don't know if you know this, and I think it's could be very important for you to have some information about this in this actual period and in the next, in the future CAP. And the third point is the EIP AGRI networks. So what is an operational group? If you have a farmer alone in the mountain who meet a problem with livestock, he can share this problem with other farmer, and we can organize an operational group. He discuss with an advisor, for example, and then with other partners, to solve his problem, he can organize an operational group. In this operational group, there are farmers. It is the base of this program. So you have farmers, and then you can have advisor, researcher, NGO, and a lot of partners. It's a multi-actor project. It is very important it is the main base of this operational group. Is is a multi-actor project. This operational group is found under RDP's programmation. That I said before, it's tackled a certain practical problem. It's really to have a practical problem or opportunity which may lead to innovation. It's a bottom-up process and co-creation. And when you you are part of an operational group, you have to disseminate the result via the EIP AGRI network. But this is the EIP AGRI network. You have the EIP AGRI service point at the middle, and then we have the CAP rural development with the operational group, where you can have also link with Horizon 2020 project, research project, and multi-actor project. And it will be very important now and also in the future to have the involvement of operational group in Horizon 2020 project on Horizon Europe project. So as I said, you have to spread the result, and you can compute the result in the EIP AGRI website. I give you the link later. As a summary, I can tell you about the step in operational group. So identify the problem or innovative idea, find the right partner, then make a project with an advisor or a technical institute or chamber of agriculture or all of this NGO or all of these potential partners that you start and run the project and then spread the result. This is the infography of the operational group. In your topic, here is the distribution of operational group project per thematic, and you can see that water management, we have 109 topics about that. So it's around 1,000 projects. So it's an important topic all around the Europe. You can see that there are a lot of topics around farming practice and animal husbandry, for example, also. Then it's a concept operational group. So I would like to give you some example because it's better to understand with example. So the first one is from Italy. It's called Transfer of Mature Irrigation Management Technology and Protocols for Irrigation Optimization. And the OG aims at transferring sustainable irrigation from an hypothesis to practice. And this operational group is building up with a fruit grower, decision support services. So providing, of course, irrigation advice. So the decision support system allows to save money, water resource, energy for irrigation, agrochemicals for controlling biotic attacks. At the same time, it ensures the quality of the end of the supply chain. Why I choose this example? It's because of the partner of this project. The lead partner is ASO Fruit Italy. It's a producer organization, but in Italy, in Basilicata, we have a basin authority, and this basin authority, it's one of the main partners of this project. So they work together. The association of producers, the research with the university, National Agency of New Technology, because it's an informatic tool, and also a group of farmers and an SME. So it's really a multi-actor project, and I think you have your, it's possible for you to be very active in this, in operational group in general. The second example I took is AGRI, it's efficiency assessment of water and energy in collective irrigation system. It's two examples about irrigation, but there is also thermology in water quantity and water quality, of course. I just took this example here, but you can look at the website and you have a lot of examples, because during the workshop in Almeria, we make a booklet with a lot of examples. So you can look at this booklet and you can see all the examples about water quality and quantity management. So in Portugal, this example AGRI, the project is to improve the sustainability of collective irrigation system through the efficient use of water and energy. And for this, at the end, the result demonstrates the importance of investing in the rehabilitation of existing infrastructure, besides the need to improve operational control of physical losses. So the partner for this project, the lead partner, it's a National Federation of Irrigation in Portugal, and the other partners are from research and yes, also university, NGO, and manager of water user association. I saw that some participants are from this kind of association, and farmer and irrigators. So for the future CAP, this measure is will be in. And under the Article 71 of cooperation, so you have operational group projects of the EIP AGRI service point productivity and sustainability, and it's I think it's voted by the Parliament now at the end of last month. And there is, for the future CAP, there is a few modifications, but I think it's good news for you, because now the operational group are in the regional territory areas. And in the future CAP, all kind of cross-border will be enhanced, from finding info abroad to learning from advisor and farmer by exchanges visit, and to setting up cross-border OG. So it's a good news through OG, we would like to promote cooperation between different country and region, and I think for the Basin it's an important thing. And the second is that the topic of the OG will be extended, so not only on agriculture, but also on local development topic as rural tourism. So maybe they can have some topic on water, and not very linked to farming, but also to other topics. So I think it could be an opportunity for you. So I thank you for your attention. I just note another thing. So I would like to say, as Yannick already said, I encourage you to participate to the preparation of national strategic plans in your country, because all of this, the implementation of the operational group, and all the measures around water are decided now in the national strategic plans. So I think it's a good opportunity for you to participate to this implementation. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Céline, for these introductions to the EIP groups. We will move directly forward towards the second speaker. Just to remind you, you have a possibility to ask the questions in the chat. So we will now move to European project example, the Fairway project. And Nicolas will have the opportunity to present what they are doing in terms of agriculture and water, and especially on the effects and the delays in terms of effects sometimes that are induced by the measures involved in terms of water and agriculture. And then after, we will take all your questions and remarks and questions. Nicolas?
Oui, je partage mon écran. Ah. C'est bon pour vous?
It is okay.
Non, pas tout à fait chez moi.
Nous voyons maintenant votre écran.
Merci.
We can see your screen now. My name is Nicolas Surdyk from the BRGM, the Ecological Bureau. I'm happy to introduce you the Fairway project. The overall or general objectives of the Fairway project is to contribute to a more effective protection of drinking water resources in terms against nitrate and pesticide pollution stemming from agriculture. And this goes through the identification of innovative measures and governance approaches, both for local, regional, and national actors. So this project, as any European project, involves a series and a range of actors. As we were saying earlier on, we try to bring together in this project as much as many diversities as possible in terms of agronomical, economic, and ecological diversities from Europe, East and West. A very large diversity, in other words. So in order to be quick and brief in the presentation of the project, if you look closely, the overall orientation and guidance of the project, in the very center, you can see that we kind of use the case studies platforms, providing both data, in other words, concentration data, and penetration data. And we also conducted a study on how this project was governed. In other words, the multiplayer platform, to use the French case, how was intertwined the relationship between the Chamber of Agriculture, the Ministry of Agriculture, the state, the region, the water syndicate or union that is very present, and the water agency. So this is extremely important and has been extensively studied under this project. And on the left-hand side, we studied also the monitoring and indicators. This is that I spoke about it extensively earlier on. In terms of monitoring indicators, is really paramount for us. And we also studied what were the best measures and agricultural practices to put in place to mitigate the pollution penetration in the water, and what were the decision support tools and decision-making tools to help decision makers to make the right decisions. So you could see that there are a lot of errors into connecting all these packages, connecting them. And in order to make decisions, you need indicators, and the measures to be privileged and to be put forward are also the measuring practices that help the decision-making process. So in terms of governance, as I said earlier, this is something that we try to really put forward and highlight under the project. In other words, understand how the actors were connected and interlinked in each water catchment area and basin area, because the water quality is a matter of concern for all of us. It's really our daily cup of tea. So even citizens need to be concerned, and it's really something that is vital for all of us. So we try to understand why some actions were more successful in some regions than in others. So we try to understand the whole governance, because this project was not implemented for our sake, but for the sake of everyone. So we try to actually make the successes known, not only locally or nationally, but also at European level. The success stories. So we had 13 case studies in 18 countries that we have identified as the most representative of Europe, North and South, and to have all the different climates, all the different soils, and all the agricultural modes, namely some agriculture that were oriented on the organic fertilizers, mineral fertilizers, or mineral or nitrate pollution problems, or problems that were more of a phytosanitary issue. So it really seemed a very good idea. And what we tried to do is come up with statistics. So, but this breakdown was not that easy for statistical purposes. In order to showcase that we are at the very heart of the project and we are almost at the very end of its finalization in terms of deliverables and scientific papers. So we're trying to analyze the multi-actor platforms to figure out why in some cases it's been successful and why it hasn't been successful in some other cases, and why in some catchment areas the implementation of the measures is very well monitored by some actors and less followed and monitored by in other regions. So we try to come up with measures to reduce leaching of nitrate and pesticides, and we realized that we had a lot of modeling and real studies were very, very rare in the field. So these deliverables and scientific papers, we thought to have them ready early, but it took some time. So we tried to work on governance, water safety plans, and come up with recommendations to really showcase the interaction between the policymakers and the stakeholders, between those who make the decisions and those who implement them. And it's very difficult to find the linkages between what we call the strong leadership and the good partnership, and figure out who is going to be leading, but with the good decision maker and good leadership and sound leadership, and not really dismantling everyone and pushing forward and scratch everyone. So I'm sorry I have extended myself on the project, but I wanted to show what was done under the project, and I will be very, very happy to further shed some light if you are more interested on governance or on the field measures to be applied, to be implemented. If you need them, I'll be happy to share them with you. Sorry. So we've extensively worked on the monitoring, and let me explain how we work. So in other words, we try to link the agricultural pressure to state, to the level or the state of concentration in the water. How to link pressure to state, in other words, so both in impact, both in terms of CAP, the Common Agricultural Policy, and the WFT. So we had like indicators that were fixed in a framework. And what we try to do is to highlight the link between those, between the duration and the time of transmission of water and the arrival of the water in the water. The transmission and the pre-selection of indicators is with thought to reduce the service. The only indicator that we have created is an indicator for link, the link indicators. And then we try to figure out which was the best indicator, the pressure indicator and the state indicator, and to see whether the indicator, the link indicator was the same as the pressure indicator, the state indicator being the pressure. Let me give you one example. It's a French example. It's a case study that I was involved in. It's close to Paris. It's about 50 to 100 kilometers from Paris, as you can see here on the map. It's right here, near to Paris. So all the water resources that is produced in the basin or catchment areas, it feeds the city of Paris. So this is meant to water transmission and water transfer to Paris. So the type of transmission is in rotation with the Colva area. So you can see here the type of landscape, very, very plain, very flat. I like the balls, quite very, very good for the culture and agricultural production and crops. So these are the data that we have used. So we were very, very happy and very lucky to have on this field very long agricultural chronicles and campaigns. So we have large data availability, so mineral fertilization, the fixation, the atmospheric deposit, and what comes from the crop, and consumption, the nitrate consumption. So these are data that I really wanted to show you because these are accumulated, and this is what gives us the end budget, which is a value that is already being used by Europe as an indicator. So we didn't have any a prioris on the best indicators. So we used crossing available data, mineral fertilization versus nitrate concentration, organic fertilization versus nitrate concentration. We wanted to find out what was the best indicator, really. So if you see that there is a good match, and here it's a very good match, and here not at all, which is normal for this zone, because no organic fertilization is available anymore. And here we kind of conducted some crossing with the wheat soil occupation versus nitrate concentration. To get data on fertilization is very difficult, but on soil occupation, it's easier. So in order to reach these results, we have pretty good correlation and good relationship between end budget and concentration, but also between mineral fertilization and concentration. But we have a lag time, as we had to study the curve for a kind of 20-year curve. And this is an indication that we kind of predicted on these kind of soil. So there was a lag time between the action time. So you see the end budget. There were agricultural actions and campaigns conducted since as early as early 90s, very local actions that were further built at national level. These are some prediction of the CIP, the CAP. So some very important things have been done, but no action on water, because the non-saturated areas, so you can't see the impact on water yet, on the concentration of water. So you can see here the results, the most important ones at least. So you can have time lag between, a very long time lags between the N input and the NO3 concentration in deep groundwater. And these are the most important ones. The lag time depends. It can really, the time lag time could be like maximum 24 years. But this is not to be applied to the Parisian case study, but to the Finnish one. It will depend on the hydrogeological context. But where we were disappointed, however, is that there was little relation between the land use and the N concentration, because the database and the data set was too short. So statistically, we can read something, but it doesn't mean much, it doesn't mean anything. And as we had very weak data sets in pesticides, so we couldn't make any correlation or establish a relationship that really meant something. So by way of conclusion, and if you want to come up to some conclusions, we need to know that in some hydrological contexts, a long time lag is needed sometimes between the N input and NO3 concentration in deep groundwater. Earlier on, we were taking stock on why it didn't really progress or see any improvement on the water. This could be an explanation. Second thing, that in order to have like long time series, and long time series are actually needed to link pressure and state indicators at the catchment scale, and the CAP policy on waters needs to take into account these two important aspects and anticipates the long time response and come up with key indicators to be applied and to be embraced. And in these very complicated contexts of long time responses, we cannot speed up the responses, and we have to come up with policies that are consistent in time and also consistent between them. So the CAP and the water for framework directives are not always consistent. So this could be a problem on the long response time, because consistent responses are to be designed in order to make consistency. Thank you very much for your time and attention.
Thank you.
Merci beaucoup.
Before we go to the questions and answers, what we can take from your both presentation, and probably that would be a question from all side. Nicolas has given us a very clear message on the necessary time for the measures and the effectiveness to show upon, and this is directly in line with what we've seen this morning before on the European results. Obviously, Nicolas, you have also shown us a specific case in France, but probably you hear my WhatsApp going on. I also received many messages and comments saying that European context is very diverse, and the situation is not the same in the center of France near Paris, or in the Mediterranean area, or in within the beautiful lakes of our Finnish friends. So probably we can just give a short statement from Ramiro from Spain, who is and was deeply involved in the Mediterranean networks of Basin organization, because probably he wanted to also underline this fact of the different context, agriculture aspects within Europe, and especially in the Mediterranean area. Ramiro?
Ramiro, you have the floor.
Yes, we can see
Sí,
you.
gracias, Yannick. Buenos días a todos.
Buenos días.
¿Se me escucha?
Good morning to everyone.
Antes que nada, mi enhorabuena y felicitaciones a la...
Congratulations to all the organizers for this excellent initiative and for this high quality of presentations we've listened to so far. More than on behalf of Spain, I'd like to talk on behalf of the Mediterranean sector, just as a representative of the Mediterranean network of river basins, which a permanent technical secretariat I work with. I wish I could have listened a bit more to the Mediterranean reality from the southern countries, but also from the African northern countries, which could also provide their own message. Because, of course, when we talk about water and agriculture in the Mediterranean, we're talking about very diverse situations, countries that use almost 80% of their renewable water resources to irrigation. And when we listen to examples of ratios of 10%, we are clearly talking about very diverse and different type of issues. So here in the south of Europe, but also in the north of Africa, we have a huge pressure over shallow resources and an over extraction of underground resources. And this is something we should bear in mind, that these are two very different issues we should try to tackle. These two conditions that we have to bear in mind when we talk about the CAP. Thank you very much.
Je ne sais pas si c'était pour répondre. Je suis tout à fait d'accord. Pour le coup, le type d'irrigation est très différent.
The type of irrigation is very different in the area that I have presented and in the Iberian Peninsula. The soil, the hydric conditions are very different, so much so that the accumulation between irrigation and soil makes it so that the response times are very different. Just like the climatic region is going to be different, we cannot apply directly what I explained to the hydric situation of the soil. Plus, if we transpose that to North Africa, yes, we will see, as a matter of fact, as the irrigation system is that different and that the use of the aquifer or the water table is ill-used, we are going to see that there's an over-exploitation, over-subtraction of the water table, and we are going to find something else. I fully concur.
Yes, thank you both. It is definitely what is making the richness of this network is to be able to compare and to underline the specificities of all our basins and the regions we are working on. And this is always what we are trying to do. And thanks, Ramiro, for reminding us the situation is not seen with the same goggles or same glasses from the north of Europe or the south. Nevertheless, this change in the CAP and this change in the EU regulations, that's the beauty and the difficulty of it, is applying to all of us. So again, it's good for us to have all those participants together to be able to underline those differences and also to enrich ourselves with the experience from the others. So we will now go back to the questions and answers. First of all, for Céline, definitely, I guess many of the people today have learned about these initiatives of those groups. A question on the way, if you are not a farmer or an agricultural institutions, how are we able to join the initiatives? You mentioned that it will be easier in the future. Could you just give us a bit more tips on the way our participants could join these initiatives?
It's not the same nowadays than in the future CAP. So nowadays, there must be a group of farmer or a farmer at the initiative of the operational group. And then it depends of the region, but in the most of the region, you have to work with an university or a technical institute. So you have to be a group of farmers and a technical institute, or a group of farmers and a university. Only 2 partners. But we can add other partners like NGO and Basin and all of the other organizations. And the region manages this tool. Now, in the future CAP, maybe the region will manage the tool as well, but in the measure of cooperation. So you have to discuss with the managing authority, maybe the region or the national managing authority, and you can discuss with them, because now we are preparing the national strategic plan. So we don't know all the rules. So it's now that you have to discuss with the region or the national managing authority to look at the rules. It's the main lines, the main guidelines in the Green Deal, but there is no declination now in the national strategic plan. So you have to discuss with them now. It's very important.
Okay, thank you. I guess this is true for mostly all of the subjects.
It's good that your events it's now and not in 2 or 3 months, because you have to look at the opportunity at this moment.
It's true, and we are receiving many comments on the chat on some initiatives that could be promoted, but as we said, as an introduction, now it is the time for the people from the water sector to get involved and to get in touch also with authorities dealing with elaboration of the plans. And we always say this no and never, but no or never. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Going back to the screening of all your comments, and thank you for this. We had in the chat some very interesting inputs from the Rhine Commission on explaining what they were proposing in terms of reducing micropollutants, with some links. So even if participants are interested in that one, you can follow the link, and we will cover all those links to be sent to you in a resource document at the end of the session. Definitely, Basin organization and international commission could set objectives on micropollutants or any other objectives, but the tools they are relying also on the European possibilities and the funding that goes with. So this is a very interesting statement. We also had a lot of contributions on the regional specificities that cannot always be taken into account in general EU rules, but I guess this is why the strategic plans are produced at national level, and this is why we have in our geographic hydrological context to work with the people in charge of who writing them. Okay.
And then Yannick, we also had a contribution from Portuguese data provider. This contribution could be interesting for all the partners who want to share, to combine efforts and to share data with this agency. So do not hesitate to do so. And maybe you have some more precise question for the Fairway project for Nicolas. So Nicolas, just a short question about the runoff water. How did you integrate the runoff water in your project? Because it could be a question who will be interesting for many stakeholders. The question of runoff water. So, Nicolas, if you have an answer.
Alors, dans les indicateurs, dans ces indicateurs-là, non.
These indicators, not really, not precisely. Since, yeah, but for some mitigation measures, yes, we do have them. We have taken them into account. These indicators, as these are more overarching indicators, take into account all times and seasons. There are some parts for which it was quicker, and on average, it's 24 years, if that is a question.
Thank you, Nicolas.
Merci, Nicolas. Merci pour votre réponse.
Some specific, sorry, questions for specific, so specific on the Fairway project. I'm fairly confident that in the afternoon, Manuel will give us a lot of comments and insight also on that, because Malta, when you speak of time for recovering of groundwaters, the effect of measures, and what they have in mind for the future for RBMP and CAP reform, it will please Ramiro and our Mediterranean partners, but it is true that it is a very, very interesting case study we will have in the afternoon. It is now time, I guess, to switch before the lunchtime and to explain a bit what is proposed to you for this lunchtime. Just before that, we will relaunch again the polls. Two questions. The first, same one as what was asked to you previously, because we didn't receive everyone's answer. So we will relaunch it once again. And right after, there will be a second one, a second question. So the first questions that we received are: what impact do you think the current CAP had in the past on water resources? So I'll let you try to answer to that based on your experience and what you have received as contributions from the speakers this morning. Okay, please try to pick an answer. We have only, for the moment, 40% of participants who have answered. Who have answered. Okay, thank you. So basically, it's not a very optimistic view looking back in the past, but on an optimistic way, 30% see it as a favorable impact on the current cap on water resources, but more than the majority of participants said that it was not very favorable or unfavorable towards the water resources effect. And that was for taking stocks on the previous cap. And now we have a question just before the lunchtime, which is on the evolution of the cap. Are you optimistic about it? And how do you think the relationship will evolve between the new cap and WFD? Thanks for voting. This is an important one because it will be also included in the report and in the information we will send to our European partners and to the Commission. So please make sure you participate and you vote in order to have as much participation as we can. So we let you we leave some time for you to finally answer, but it looks like the note for the future is a bit more optimistic, which is a very good sign. 60% for now are seeing potential improvement of this relationship between the cap and WFD. So last chances, last seconds for answering. I mean, after the last couple of days, we are getting accustomed to waiting for the results of polls. So we can have a few seconds more. Okay, we let it happen. That will give me the opportunity to explain to you what is planned for the next session and the lunchtime. We propose during the lunchtime to keep open the meeting room and to benefit from some videos and some PowerPoints going on for almost 45 minutes. So you will have a chance to grab a sandwich or whatever you cooked at home and bring to your place, or for those who are at home to go to the kitchen and grab something. In the meantime, as I said, we will just broadcast some videos on in relation with our topic today. But more importantly, we will go back after this lunch break, precisely at 1:15 p.m. And we will have a chance to look at the future. Definitely, this is a really important session for us because that will be the chance to give some recommendations, proposals, and perspectives. So you will benefit from one example in Malta on the way we can go beyond and think about this new CAP and RBMPs in the Mediterranean region. And then we will have some groups in order to collect your specific recommendations. So please, while you grab your sandwich, think about what you want to say in order to improve the situation of what we discussed this morning. And those proposals, if we look at the poll, it was not very beneficial in the past, or not enough, but we are optimistic in the future. So think about it with your sandwich and go back with us at 1:15 p.m. for expressing your views and making concrete recommendations that we'll be able to share with others at the European level. So thank you. Have a nice lunch. 1:15 p.m. See you all in a few minutes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. See you later. And we'll stay connected with mic turn off and webcam turn off so that we can keep your name for the session later on and the division into groups. Thank you.